Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Part 3, Book 2, Point 13. This little book that we're reading. It's a speech practice. Nothing is more wretched than a man who traverses everything in around and pries into the things beneath the earth, as the poet says, and seeks by conjecture what is in the minds of his neighbors, without perceiving that it is sufficient to attend to the daemon within him, and to revere it sincerely. And reverence of the daemon consists in keeping it pure from passion and thoughtfulness, and dissatisfaction with what comes from gods and men. For the things from the gods merit veneration for their excellence, and the things from men should be dear to us by reason of kinship. Sometimes even, in a manner, they move our pity by reason of man's ignorance of good and bad. This defect being not less severe than that which deprives us the power of distinguishing things that are white from things that are black. Even if you should live 3,000 years, and as many times 10,000 years, still remember that no man loses any other life than this which he now lives, nor lives any other than this which he now loses. The longest and shortest are thereby brought to the same, for the present is the same to all, through that which perishes is not the same, and so that which is lost appears to be a mere moment. For a man cannot lose neither the past or the future, for what a man has not, how can anyone take from him? These two things then you must bear in mind. The one, that all things from eternity are of like forms and come round in a circle, and that it makes no difference whence a man shall see the same things during 100 years or 200, or an infinite time. And the second, that the one who lives longest and the one who will die soonest lose just the same. For the present is the only thing of which a man can be deprived, if it is true that this is the only thing which he has, and that a man cannot lose a thing if he has it not. Remember that all is opinion, for what was said by the cynic Monimus is manifest, and manifest too is the use of whatever was said. If a man receives what may be got out of this far is what? If a man receives what may be got out of it as far as it is true, the soul of a man does violence to itself. First of all, when it becomes an abscess, and, as it were, a tumor on the universe, so far as it can. For to be vexed at anything which happens in a separation of ourselves from nature is some part of which the natures of all things are contained. In the next place, the soul does violence to itself when it turns away from any man, and or even moves towards him with the intention of injuring, such as are the souls of those who are angry. In the third place, the soul does violence to itself when it is overpowered by pleasure or by pain. Fourthly, when it plays a part and does or says anything insincerely and untruly. Fifthly, when it allows any act of its own and any moment to be without an aim. It does anything thoughtlessly, thoughtlessly, anything thoughtlessly, and without considering what it is, it being right that even the smallest things be done with reference to an end. And at the end of rational animals is to follow the reason and the law of the most ancient city and political state. Of human life, the duration is a point. The substance is in flux, and the perception dual, and the composition of the whole body subject to putrefaction, and the soul a will, a fortune hard to divine, and fame a thing devoid of judgment, and to say all in a word, everything which belongs to the body is a stream, and what belongs to the soul is a dream and vapor, and life is a warfare and a stranger's sojourn. Sojourn, and after fame is oblivion. What then is that which is able to conduct a man? One thing, and only one, philosophy. But this consists in keeping the daemon within a man free from violence and unharmed, superior to pains and pleasures, doing nothing without purpose, for forcefully and with hypocrisy, not feeling a need for others to do or not do anything. And besides, accepting all that happens and all that is allotted as coming forth there, wherever it is, from hence he himself came, and finally, waiting for death with a cheerful mind, as being nothing else than a dissolution of the elements of which every living being is compounded. But if there is no harm to the elements themselves in each continuity changing into another form, why should a man have any appreciation about the change and dissolution of all the elements? For it is according to nature, and nothing is evil which is according to nature. This is carnuntum. Book 3. We ought to consider not only that our life is wasting away daily and that a small part of it is left, but another thing also must be taken into account. If a man should live longer, it is quite uncertain whether his understanding will still continue to be sufficient for the comprehension of things, and retain the faculty of contemplation which strives to acquire the knowledge of the divine and the human. For if he shall begin to fall into dotage, perspiration, and nutrition, and imagination, and appetite, and whatever else there is of the kind, will not fail. But the power of making use of ourselves and filling up the measure of our duty and clearly separating the appearances and considering whether a man should now depart from life and whether else of the kind absolutely requires a disciplined reason. All this is already extinguished. We must make haste then, not only because we are daily nearer to death, but also because the conception of things and the understanding of them cease first. We ought to observe also that even the consequences of things which are produced according to nature contain something pleasing and attractive. For instance, when bread is baked, some parts are split at the surface, and those parts which thus open and have a certain fashion contrary to the purpose of the baker's art are beautiful in a manner and in a particular way excite a desire for eating. And again, figs, when they are quite ripe, grape open, and in the ripe olives, the very circumstance of their being near to rottenness adds a peculiar beauty to the fruit. And the ears of corn bending down, and the lion's eyebrows, and the foam which flows from the mouth of wild boars, and many other things, though they are far from being beautiful, if a man should examine them individually, still, because they are consequent upon the themes which are formed by nature, help to adorn them, and they please the mind, so that if a man should have a feeling and a deeper insight with respect to the things which are produced in the universe, there is hardly one of those which follow by way of consequence which will not seem to him to be in a manner disposed as to give pleasure. And so he will see even in the real gaping jaws of wild beasts with no less pleasure than which painters and sculptors show by imitation. And in an old woman and an old man he will be able to see a certain maturity and comeliness, and the attractive loveliness of young persons. He will be able to look on with chaste eyes, and many such things will present themselves, not pleasing to every man, but only to who has become truly familiar with nature and her works. Hippocrates, after curing many diseases himself, fell sick and died. The Chaldeans foretold the death of many, and then fate caught them too. Alexander the Great, Pompey the Great, and Julius Caesar, after so often completely destroying whole cities, and in battle cutting to pieces many 10,000s of cavalry and infantry, themselves too at last departed from life. Heraclitus, after so many speculations on the conflagration of the universe, was filled with water internally and died smeared all over with mud. Lice destroyed Democritus, and other lice killed Socrates. What does all of this mean? You have embarked, you have made the voyage, you have come to shore. Get out, if indeed to another life. There is no want of gods, not even there. But if to a state without sensation you will cease to be held by pains and pleasures, and to be a slave to the bodily vessel, which is as much inferior as that which serves it superior, is superior. Let's go back. Which is as much inferior as that which serves it is superior. For the one is intelligence and deity, the other is earth and corruption. Do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others, when you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility. For you lose the opportunity to do something else when you have such thoughts as these. What is such a person doing, and why? And what is he saying? And what is he thinking of? And what is he contriving? And whatever else of the kind makes us wander away from the observation of our own ruling power. We ought then to check in the series of our thoughts everything that is without a purpose and useless. But most of all, the over curious feeling that the malignant, I don't know that word, and a man should use himself to think of those things only about which if one should suddenly ask, what have you now in your thoughts? With perfect openness you might immediately answer this or that, so that from your words it should be plain that everything in you is simple and benevolent, and such as befits a social animal, and one that cares not for thoughts about pleasure or sensual enjoyments at all, nor has any rivalry or envy and suspicion or anything else for which you would blush if you should say that you had it in your mind. For the man who is such and no longer delays being among the number of the best is like a priest and minister of the gods. Using too the deity which is planted within him, which makes the man uncontaminated by pleasure, unharmed by any pain, untouched by any insult, feeling no wrong, a fighter in the noblest fight, one who cannot be overpowered by any passion, died deep with justice, accepting with all his soul everything which happens and is assigned to him as his portion, and not often, nor yet without great necessity and for the general interest, imagining what another says or does or thinks, for it is only what belongs to himself that he makes the matter for his activity, and he constantly thinks of that which is allotted to himself, out of the sum total of things, and he makes his own acts fair, and he is persuaded that his own portion is good, for the lot which is assigned to each man is carried along with him, and carries him along with it. And he remembers also that every rational animal is his kinsman, and that that to care for all men is according to man's nature, and a man should hold on to the opinion not of all, but of those only who confessedly live according to nature. But as to those who do not live so, he always bears in mind what kind of men they are both at home and abroad, both by night and by day, and what they are, and with what men they live an impure life. Accordingly, he does not value at all the praise which comes from such men, since they are not even satisfied with themselves. Do not labor unwillingly, or without regard to the common interest, or without due consideration, or with distraction. Do not let studied ornament set off your thoughts, and be neither a man of many words, nor busy about too many things. And further, let the deity which is in you be the guardian of a living being, manly and of ripe age, and engaged in political matters, and a Roman and a ruler, who has taken his post like a man waiting for the signal which summons him from life, and ready to go, having need neither of oath nor of any man's testimony. Be cheerful also, and do not seek external help, or the tranquillity which others give. A man then must stand erect, not be kept erect by others. We're gonna end it here. Oh, today it was difficult. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. Thank you. Speech practice. Practicing talking for the sake of talking. Blessings be upon you, my friend, and I wish you absolutely great day.